Hi, my name is Chase Romano, and this is going to be my third project in cloud computing. And in this project, we're going to learn how to use Apache Spark on Cloud Dataproc to distribute a computationally intensive image processing task onto a cluster of machines. What we're going to learn today is how to create a managed Cloud Dataproc cluster with Apache Spark, how to build and run jobs that use external packages that aren't already installed in your cluster, and how to shut down your cluster. The first thing we're going to do is create a development machine in the compute engine. First, we'll create a virtual machine to host our services, and we'll do this in the Google Cloud Console. So in the Google Cloud Console, click the navigation menu, scroll down to Compute Engine, and click Virtual Machine Instances. We're going to create our virtual machine, and we're going to set our parameters. So we're going to set this first one, we'll just call this dev host. And then for machine type, we need to change this to a 2 CPU. So we'll do an N1 standard 2. 2 CPU, 7.5 gigabyte memory. And then last thing we need to do is go down to access and allow full access to all cloud APIs. And we'll create our virtual machine. Our next step is to install the software. Using SBT, an open source build tool, we'll build the jar for the job you'll submit to the Cloud Dataproc cluster. This jar will contain the program and required packages necessary to run the job. The job will detect faces in a set of image files stored in a Google Cloud Storage bucket and write out image files with the faces outlined to either the same or to another cloud storage bucket. So let's open the SSH window. And in this SSH window, we'll install Scala and SBT with the following commands that are provided in the GitHub. This may take a few minutes, so I'm going to take a break and come back when this is done. Now that that's all done, we're going to move on to step 2. We're going to build the feature detector files. The code is available in the GitHub. You'll clone the repository and then change the directory into the directory for this lab and build a fat jar of the feature detector so that it can be submitted to Cloud Dataproc. Run the following commands in the SSH window. Alright, so let's run the following commands for step 2. Now we'll move on to step 3, which is the launch build, which builds a fat jar of the feature detector so that it can be submitted to Cloud Dataproc. I'm going to pause as this may take a few minutes. Now that we've built the feature detector files, we're going to create a Google Cloud Storage bucket and add some sample images to it. So these files will be under the GCS bucket and collect images in the GitHub. Name your bucket and set a shell variable to your bucket name. The shell variable will be used in commands to refer to your bucket. To keep it simple, we're just going to have everyone use my bucket. For step 2, we're going to use a program which comes with Google Cloud and the Cloud SDK to create the bucket to hold our sample images. Now, in step 3, we're going to download some sample images into the bucket. This first image is a picture of a family. The second image is a picture of an African woman. And this third picture is an image of a classroom. Using these commands, we just download the following images into the cloud storage bucket. Here are the 3 images. Here's the family, the African woman, and the classroom. Next, for step 4, we're going to run some code to see the contents of our bucket. And below, you'll see that the 3 images are now in our bucket. For our next task, we're going to create a Cloud Dataproc cluster. We're going to run the following commands for step 1 and the SSH window to name the cluster and to set the myCluster variable. We'll be using the variable in the commands to refer to your cluster. For step 2, we're going to set a global GCE region to use and create a new cluster. This might take a few minutes, so I'm going to pause. If you are asked, did you mean zone US Central or any other zone for a cluster, go ahead and respond with a Y. Now we're going to submit our job to Cloud Dataproc. In this project, the program you're running is used as a face detector. So the inputted HAAR classifier must describe a face. An HAAR classifier is an XML file that is used to describe features that the program will detect. You will download this classifier file and include its GCS path in the first argument when you submit your job to your Cloud Dataproc cluster. We will now run the code from step 1 to load the face detection configuration file into the bucket. For step 2, we'll use a set of images we uploaded into the IMGs directory in your GCS bucket as input to your face detector. You must include the path to that directory as a second argument of your job submission command. So now we'll submit our job to Cloud Dataproc. You can actually add any other images to use the GCS bucket specified in the second argument. This also may take a few seconds. Now that this is finished, we will go back to the console. In the navigation menu, we will scroll down until you see Big Data. And under Big Data, we will click the Dataproc. This will help us monitor the job. And as you can see, we now see our job. Now we'll view the job in action. Click the navigation menu and scroll down to Storage. Find the bucket that we created and then click on the out directory. Now let's see one of the outputs. How accurate is the face detection? Well, by looking at it, it seems that it captured most of the faces, had some false positives, and also had some negatives. And congratulations, you just learned how to spin up a Google Cloud Dataproc cluster and run jobs.